Good day everyone, I am Mary Joy Z. Almasin. Today I am going to discuss the syntagmatic analysis and paradigmatic analysis. First, I am going to discuss the syntagmatic analysis. So a syntagm is a chain, and in syntagmatic analysis, a text is examined as a sequence of events that forms some kinds of narrative. So in this section, I will discuss the ideas of Vladimir Prop, a Russian folklorist who wrote a pioneering book in 1928 titled Morphology of the Folktale. So the component part of something and their relationship to each other and to the whole. So Prop, whose work involved in a group of fairy tales. So again, Prop, whose work involved a group of fairy tales, has described his method as follows. So we are undertaking a comparison of the themes of these tales. For the sake of comparison, we shall separate the component parts of fairy tales by special methods, and then we will make a comparison of the tales according to their components. So the result will be morphology. So morphology, a description of the tale according to its component parts and the relationship of these components to each other and to whole. So props refers to the essential of basic narrative until in his studies as a function. So function is understood as an act of character defined from the point of view of its significance of the course of the action. So Prop's observation may briefly formulated in the following manner. So first, the function of the characters serve as a stable, constant element in a tale, independent of how and by whom they are fulfilled. So they constitute the fundamental components of a tale. So number two, the number of the function know the fairy tale is limited. So he determined that the number of function known to fairy tale is limited. Specifically, Prof identified the 31 distinction that across various tales such as sensation, violation, interdictions, and many more. Number 3, the sequence of function is always identical. So Props found that this function occurs in a consistent sequence within the narrative, while not every function appears in every tale. When they do, they follow the same order, contributing to universal narrative structure. Next is number 3. And number 2, the number of function known to the fairy tale is limited. And number 3, the sequence of function is identical. Number 4, all fairy tales are of one type in regards to their structure. So based on the patterns, Prop conducted that all fairy tales shares common structural frameworks. So Prop's description of his first function is quoted below, so that you can see what a simple one is like and how he develops. Each number in parentheses refers to fairy tales that Prop studied. One of the members of a family absents himself from home. Definition is absensation, so the designation is this one. So next, the persons absenting himself can be a member of the older generation, parents leave for work. So the prince had to go on a distant journey, leaving his wife to the care of strangers. Once he, a merchant, went away to foreign lands, usual forms of absensation, going to work to the rest to trade, to war, going to work to the forest to trade, to war, or on businesses. So an intensified form of absensation is represented by the death of parents. So 3, sometimes members of the younger generation absent themselves. They go visiting, they go fishing, for walk, or to out to gather berries. So this illustration is the props functions. So here, even though you do not know all the subcategories of each function, you can still use props 31 function to conduct syntagmatic analysis of the selected text. So this table 1.14, it shows that displays simplified and slightly modified list of this function and gives a brief description of each. So what will become obvious to you as you use this function is the extent to which a lot of contemporary stories contain many props function. So his definition of the hero as a character who either directly suffers from the action of the villain, or who agrees to liquidate the misfortune of lack of another person, is also worth considering. So heroes props tell us, are supplied with magical agents or helpers that make us use in the difficult situation. So this column, this one, so this column here, next is the second and the third. The third column is a definition. So first column stated A is initial situation, members of family or hero introduced. The next one is absensation, one of the members of the family absents himself from home. The third one is Y, interdiction. An interdiction is addressed to the hero. The design one is violation. An interdiction is violated. The next one is reconnaissance. The villain makes an attempt of reconnaissance. The next is delivery. The villain receives information about his victim. Next is trickery. The villain attempts to deceive his victim. Complexity. The victim submits deception and unwittingly helps his enemy. So villainy. The villain causes harm and injury to a member of the family. Next is luck. One member of family lacks something or wants something. Next is mediation. Misfortune is made known. Hero. Counteraction. Seekers agree to decide one counteraction. Departure. The hero leaves home. First function of donor. Hero is tested. Receive magical agent or helper. E is hero's reaction. Heroes react to actions of the future donor. So this is the continuation of props function. So we will now apply props function to an episode of a television. So we will now apply props function to an episode of the television program The Prisoner to show how props work can be used to help uncover the morphology of a narrative text. So The Prisoner is remarkable existential television series, first broadcast number of years ago and today regarded by many as a classic. So this is about a man who, having resigned from some mysterious organization, has been abducted and is being held against his will in the village. So, a strange result like plays on an island where everyone is called by a number rather by their name. The hero is locked into battles with various adversaries. Each called is number 2 in the episode of the series. So at the end of the series, the prisoner number 6 escapes from the village, which he destroys and returns to his apartment in London. So the first episode of The Prisoner is the arrival. It opens with a scene in which the hero, unnamed, so in Sean resigning, he is in an office with some officials. He pounds the tables and leaves. So he returns to his apartment and begins to pack. But as he does, he is gassed and passed out. He awakes in the village, a totalitarian society where everyone has number instead of names. So he is told that he is number 6. The prisoner is pitted against number 2, who wishes to find out why number 6 resigned. So 6 tries to escape by running along the seashore but is captured by a huge and terrifying rubber sphere. Rubber that is kept beneath the sea and is controlled by number 2. 6 is sent to the village hospital where he finds himself sharing a room with an old friend, also a spy. So after 6 is released from the hospital, he noticed a woman acting strangely at his friend's burial procession. 6 talks with the woman, who tells him she was the friend's lover and that they were planning to escape from the island. She has a watch with a special device that enables 6 to invade Rover and steal a helicopter. So 6 takes the watch and escapes via helicopter, but shortly after he has left the island, he discovers the helicopter and controlled by number 2. So the episode ends with the helicopter returning to the village and the spy friend, who had supposedly committed suicide, telling number 2 that 6 is an unusual person who will need special treatment. So although Prisoner is not fairy tale per se, it contains many of the same elements as a fairy tale. So many contemporary narrative texts it can be argued. So modified and updated. So table 1.5 lists a few of the program functions that can be applied to events in the arrival. So this analysis could be extended and be made more detailed through the use of some prop subcategories, but I only want suggestion the possible this kind of analysis. So this is the Propian function in arrival episode of The Prisoner. So initial situation, the symbol is A, hero shown resigning. So interdiction violated, so this is the symbol. Spies can't resign, so villain. Props function, villain causes injury, so this is the symbol. So event, hero abducted by the village, so the receipt of a magical agent, F. So the event in the arrival in the episode of The Prisoner, woman give 6 watch with device. So props function is pose, hero exposed, so this is the symbol. Next is friend shown with 2. So there are 2 important things to be learned from syntagmatic analysis. First, narratives, regardless of the kind or genre, are composed of certain functions or elements that are essential for the creation of story. Props work leads us then to an understanding of the nature of the formulas. Second, the order in which events takes place in a narrative is of great importance. So there is a logic to narrative text. and the arrangement of the elements in a story can greatly on our or affect our perceptions of what anything means, so that in fact it's the purpose served by editing. So that is the first um, so that is the Freudian function in arrival episode of the prisoner. So which is we discussed about the syntagmatic analysis. Now we will going to proceed in the paradigmatic analysis. So paradigmatic analysis, as described here, seeks to uncover the underlying oppositional structure within a text. So structures that generate meaning through contrast. So this approach aligns with the structuralist theories, particularly those influenced by Soar and Jacobson, so which emphasize binary opposition as a fundamental to human cognition and linguistic meaning making. So in the prisoner episode Arrival, the central opposition between freedom and control, illustrating how protagonist struggle is framed with a broader ideological structure. Other oppositions likely include individuality versus conformity escapes. Individuality versus conformity, escape versus imprisonment, and truth versus deception. So these oppositions shape the narrative beyond its sequential structure, revealing deeper thematic tension. So critics argue that semioticians impose these structures rather than uncovering inherent meanings, leading to the Hocus Pocus versus God's truth debate. However, proponents assert that meaning is necessarily constructed through difference, making this opposition both inevitable and essential to interpretation. So, this is the polar opposition in Arrival. So, freedom, number 6. Control, number 2. The freedom, the individual, the control is the organization. Willpower, the control is the force. Freedom escape, control is the entrapment. Freedom is trust, and the control there is the deception. So, Levi-Strauss differentiates between syntagmatic and paradigmatic analysis by distinguishing between a text manifest and latent meanings. The manifest meaning is revealed through syntagmatic analysis, which examines the sequential flow of events. The latent meaning, uncovered through paradigmatic analysis, focuses on the underlying oppositional structures that give the text its deeper significance. His concept of myths, fundamental narrative units, suggests that myths, and by extension narratives, are structured through relationship between these units. The key to understanding myth is not in their style, but in how this individual or how this structured relationship convey meaning, often as coded messages from cultural individuals. So for a valid paradigmatic analysis, 2 key principles must be followed. First is the identifying true oppositions rather than artificial negation. Example, poor versus rich instead of non-rich. Number 2, ensuring oppositions are relevant to the text, characters, and events. So a more detailed analysis of Arrival would yield Freudian functions and opposition, enriching the structural understanding of this episode's meaning. So the paradigmat. So also Claude Strauss, a distinguished French anthropologist, has suggested that syntagmatic analysis of a text reveals the text manifest, again, manifest meaning, and that paradigmatic analysis reveals the latent meaning. So manifest structure of text again consists of what happens in it, whereas the Latin structure consists of what text is about. Again, an syntagmatic analysis reveals the text manifest. If you see manifest, the manifest structure of a text consists of what happens in it, while the paradigmatic analysis reveals the text latent meaning. If we say latent, is that Latin structures consist of what text is about. So, or to put it in another way, when we use paradigmatic approach, we are not so much concerned with what structures do as with what they mean. So Levi is interested in ways narrative are organized or structured and how their organization generates meaning. So in making paradigmatic analysis of a text, an analyst should take care to avoid certain possible errors. First, the analyst must be sure to elicit through oppositions. For example, I would suggest that poor is the opposite of rich and should be used instead of something as unrich, as I have discussed a while ago. Second is the analyst should be sure that the opposition elicited are tied to characters and events in the text. So that is my report about a syntagmatic analysis and paradigmatic analysis. Thank you.